Hello, dear students. I'm your teacher, Kashif Abraham. Today, we're going to sharpen one of the most powerful skills you'll ever have, and that's the ability to navigate the digital world, find what you need, and, most importantly, do it all with confidence.
You know that feeling, right? You get an assignment, you type a few words into a search engine, and bam, you're hit with millions, maybe even billions of results. It's just so overwhelming, kind of like being lost at sea. But don't you worry. By the end of this, you're going to have both a map and a compass to navigate it all.
So, let's just dive right in. Think of this as your own personal masterclass. We're going to cover everything from really mastering the search itself to understanding the ethics that guide good research, and even how to protect your own brilliant ideas when you create them.
Okay, first up, let's get a handle on the environment. I want you to picture the internet as this vast, sprawling digital jungle. It is absolutely packed with incredible resources, but it has its dangers too. So learning to navigate it safely is our very first step. So what are we really doing when we're online for an assignment? Well, we're conducting research. But here's the absolute key. The goal isn't just to find any old information. It's to find the right information. It has to be correct. It must come from a source you can actually trust. And for most topics, it really needs to be current.
And the skill that lets you do all of this? We call it digital literacy. And trust me, it's so much more than just knowing how to type something into a search bar. It's really the ability to find, to critically evaluate, and then communicate information in this digital world, all while keeping yourself and your work safe.
All right, so now that we know the what and the why, let's really get into the how. It's time to open up that researcher's toolkit and truly master the art of the search.
You know, here's a pro tip for you. Always know your mission. The way you search for some general info for homework is going to be totally different from the deep dive you'll do for a major academic paper, or, say, the kind of market research a big company does. Defining your purpose before you even start typing is the #1 step to getting better results way faster.
Now, digital literacy can feel like this huge, intimidating topic, but it really just boils down to these 3 key skills. First, just being comfortable with the technology. Second, knowing how to search effectively. Little tricks like using quotation marks for exact phrases. And third, this is the one that separates the amateurs from the pros, knowing how to critically evaluate what you find. Let's really drill down on that third step because it is the absolute core of good research. A website can look beautiful and professional, but it can still contain completely false information. You have to become a kind of detective. Always be asking yourself, who made this? Why did they make it? And can I check this information somewhere else? That's your job now. But, being a good detective isn't just about finding the right facts. It's about conducting your investigation in the right way. And that brings us to our ethical compass. These are the principles that absolutely must guide every single responsible researcher.
This quote, it really says it all, doesn't it? Ethics are what makes sure our work isn't just accurate, but that it's also fair and respectful to everyone involved, whether that's the people we're studying or the authors whose work we're citing. It all comes down to integrity.
This slide here just perfectly lays out the 4 pillars of ethical research. First, you always have to get permission. That's informed consent. Second, you protect people's private data. That's confidentiality. Third, be honest and always give credit where it's due. That's integrity. And finally, and this is probably the most important one, do no harm. That is respect.
Okay, let's switch gears for a moment. So far, we've been talking about using other people's information in an ethical way. But what happens when you are the creator? What about your own unique, brilliant ideas? Well, that's where something called intellectual property comes in.
To put it simply, intellectual property, or IP for short, is the whole idea that you can own something you create with your mind, just like you can own a phone or a book. It's the legal system that's been set up to protect your creativity and your innovation.
So one of the most powerful types of IP is a patent. If you invent something totally new, a new kind of machine, a new software process, a patent gives you the exclusive right to make,
use, and sell it for a certain amount of time.
For example, let's just imagine an engineer right here in Pakistan develops a groundbreaking new type of solar panel. By getting a patent, they make sure that for a set period, only their company can manufacture that specific design. It's a way to reward and really encourage that kind of incredible innovation.
All right, next up, trademarks. These are the logos, the names, the symbols that help us instantly recognize a brand. Just think of them as the visual shortcuts that tell our brains, hey, this is a brand I know and trust.
I mean, think about the National Foods logo. As soon as you see it on a package, you have an immediate idea of the product you're getting. That instant recognition, that's the power of a strong trademark. And that valuable brand identity is legally protected.
And what about all the creative stuff? Art, music, the words in a novel. Well, that's all covered by copyright. It protects the unique expression of ideas and creative works, everything from a book by a famous Pakistani author to the computer code in a brand new app.
And finally, we've got something called trade secrets. This is when information is so incredibly valuable that the best way to protect it is to keep it a secret. The famous recipe for picola is a perfect example of this. That formula isn't patented. It's a very closely guarded secret that gives the company its unique edge in the market. So, look at this journey we've been on. We went from being a consumer of information to an ethical researcher and now to a potential creator. You're no longer just navigating the jungle, you're actually ready to start planting your own seeds. The big takeaway here is that when you go out and create something amazing, you now know the steps to protect it. Whether you're patenting a new invention, trademarking a cool brand, or copywriting your art, these are the tools you can use to protect all your hard work and your creativity.
We've covered a whole lot today, from searching and evaluating to creating and protecting. You now have the fundamental tools of a modern digital explorer. So the real question I have for you is, what will you discover? What will you create? The digital world is yours now. Go explore it.